people, and God chooses things, and God chooses individuals who are incapable of fulfilling his promises. It is something you'll see over and over again, that God tends to choose things in people, and young people, and children, and old people, and individuals, and women, and men that are incapable of fulfilling his promises. It seems like he puts the seed of promise, he puts the living promise in that seed of promise in a womb that is dead. He says, I'm giving you something special, but here you go. Now you do it. Oh God, I can't. My womb is dead. There is nothing in me that is able to bring this forth. Have you ever been there? Because I know I've been there a million times. Go pastor this church. Well, God, how in the world? I've never pastored before. I don't know how to do it. Well, you be youth pastor. How in the world am I going to do that? I want you to lead this youth group. Well, how am I going to do that? I want you to evangelize. How am I going to do that? God will put it in you, and you don't even know what just happened to you. All you know is, I'm incapable. I'm not ready. I don't know how. Amen. I'm blessed of the Lord. Let me just tell you something. That's what my son was telling me just last year. He was saying, Dad, I feel such a passion for ministries. As a matter of fact, he quit his basketball team, and I felt like he was going to get a scholarship to a D1 school somewhere. He quit his basketball team because he said, I feel like I need to pursue ministry. He said, but I don't know how. I don't know. I don't have the resources. I just don't understand. I'm just, this is how he felt. And I told him, I said, son, God puts the seed of promise in the womb of deadness. Can I tell you, just 3 weeks ago, he had 65 young people in his small group at a house. 65 young people. You know why? Because God is no respecter of persons. God says, I know you're incapable. I know you're not apt. I know you're not ready. I know you're not enough. And yet I'm still going to put the seed of promise in you. I'm going to put it in you. And somebody here today, God is calling you. And you're doubting yourself. You ought to doubt yourself. You're not enough. You don't know enough. But God has put the seed of promise in you.
Hallelujah!
My God, bless the name of the Lord. When I look at the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 26, the Bible tells me through 28, for you see your calling, brethren, how that not many wise men after the flesh, not many mighty, not many noble are called. I'm going to tell you right now, this has to be one of the most offensive verses in all of the Bible. You read that thing again, and it's one of the most offensive verses in all of the Bible. It's like Paul was telling them, hey guys, if you need proof that God doesn't choose mighty people and noble people and wise people, then he says, then just look in the mirror. Consider your own calling. That's what Paul said. He said, you see your calling. That God doesn't choose mighty. He doesn't choose noble. He doesn't choose wise. You see it because you are unwise. Because you're broke like a skunk. Because you're weak. Because you're dumb as a rock. And don't try to tell me otherwise, because you know exactly who you are. So you see your own calling, and yet God chose you. Verse 27, but God had chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. And God chose the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty. And he chose the base things of the world, and the things that are despised have God chosen. Yes, and things which are not, to bring not the things that are. God chose small things. God chose unwise things. the Bible said the Lord did not set his love upon you, nor did he choose you because you were more in number than any people. That's not why God chose you. It's not because you were any bigger than anybody else. It says you were the fewest of all the people. You know, another version says you are the most insignificant of all the people. You know, when you go back and look at the history of Israel, I'm going to tell you, God could have chosen Babylon. Babylon was one of the smartest nations, way ahead of its time. Do you know that in Babylon they found modern day arithmetic from almost 4,000 years ago? Do you know why? That's how advanced Babylon was, way ahead of its time. And yet God did not choose them. God could have chosen the Philistines, who had the giants that roamed the land, and yet God did not choose them. God could have chosen Assyria, whom the Bible prophet said that their soldiers were as fast as leopards and as strong as lions. God could have chosen them, and yet God said, that's not who I'm going to choose. But he chose the most insignificant of all the people. He said, Israel, come over here. Who are you? Well, we don't even have an army. We don't even have a sword. We don't even know how to use it. We're like little worms in front of all of these big people who are, and God said, yeah, but I'm going to choose you. I'm going to pick you. Come on down. You qualify for what I want to do. I'm telling you, somebody in this house, it's time that you come to grips with the fact that God has chosen you, not because of who you are, not because of what you've done, not because of what you studied, but God has chosen you in a great mystery. He has put the living seed in the womb of darkness. You know that even when he chooses the disciples, the Bible says in Acts chapter 4 and 13, this is what was said of them. These are ignorant and unlearned men. Ignorant and unlearned men. Do you know what the Greek word for ignorant is? I was reading it, and the Greek word for ignorant is idiotais. Do me a favor, turn to your neighbor, because they don't know Greek. And I want you very lovingly, since they don't know Greek, very lovingly call them idiotais. That's what the disciples were called. Unlearned men. It's almost as though when the Lord came down to pick a crew, you know, he came down to pick his squad, and he said, you know, we're about to change the world. And listen, had I been God, I would have been straight up in Beverly Hills, right? I would have been straight up in Malibu, knocking on doors. Like, you have a Lamborghini? Yep, come on down, baby. We're about to change this world together, right? That's not what Jesus did. Jesus came down to the sea, and he was like, excuse me, sir, do you know your ABCs? And the guy smiled, and he was missing 3 teeth, looking like he was looked like a dude that goes to 7-Eleven at midnight. And here he is. Dude smiled, missing 3 teeth, and he said, yeah, ADHHH9. And the Lord said, woo, you qualify. Come on down. Come on. You qualify. That's what the Lord was doing. You know, Jesus himself, when it comes to this earth, he wasn't what most people were expecting in a Savior. He didn't come dressed with gold and silver and costly array. Let me tell you about, had I been Jesus coming down, I would have had a press conference in downtown Jerusalem so that everybody knew who I was. And then I would have had a big unveil of my corporate identity and my logo and my website, and I would have had an app and a podcast, and I would have let everybody know I am the Savior of the world. Plus, I would have wore a Giorgio Armani suit with a Versace shirt with Salvatore Ferragamo shoes. I would have come in a Veneno Roadster Lamborghini with butterfly doors that open up like the glory of God. Y'all don't even know what I'm talking about here this evening, but I'm telling you, that's what I would have done. That's not what Jesus did. Jesus picked the unlearned and the ignorant men of the world, and he said, I'm going to turn the world upside down with you men, you fishers. I'm going to make you fishers of men. The Lord himself, he thought it not robbery to be equal with God. He made himself of no reputation. He took upon himself the form of a servant, not a king, but a servant. He was made in the likeness of men. Being God, he made himself man. Being king, he became a servant. Having glory, he emptied himself and humbled himself, and then he became obedient unto death, even the death of a cross. He was born in a manger in Bethlehem of Judea, the smallest city in all of Palestine. That's where he was born. He comes from a poor family. He didn't own real estate. There was no beauty in him that we should desire him. He comes into Jerusalem riding on a donkey. He eats with publicans and sinners. He dies the death of a criminal. And even his tomb was borrowed. He didn't have enough money to have a tomb. And yet the Bible said that that's how God chose to reveal himself in the flesh. The Bible talks about, hey, there is no other name given among men whereby we must be saved. At the name of Jesus, every knee shall bow. Those that are on this earth, those that are under this earth, those that are in heaven, every tongue shall confess that Jesus Christ is the Lord. I'm telling you, this is how God wants people. God chooses what everybody else is throwing away. God, aren't you glad that God chose to invest in your stock when your stock was low? Aren't you glad when everybody else was selling that the Lord said, I'll buy it. I'll buy it. I know you don't see anything in it, but that's all right. I got it. I'll buy it. I'm going to use them for my glory. Somebody say, praise the Lord. If you need further proof that God chooses whack, I say whack because that's my era. I don't know how y'all say it now, but God chooses some old whack stuff. Amen? I'm going to give you some proof of that. The Jews were very particular about what the Bible calls genealogy. Now, their genealogy was their lineage. And they loved for fellow Jews to have a pure lineage, right? They were concerned with pedigree. Pedigree. Now, if you don't know what that word means, pedigree, it's dog's food. This is a harsh crowd here. That's why they hated Samaritan. For those of you that don't know, there is a pedigrees. I forget. That's why they hated Samaritans, because Samaritans were part Jews and part something else. So they didn't like mixed breeds. They didn't like mixed breeds. By the time Jesus came onto the scene, many, especially Levites, could trace their ancestors And they made sure to hide some of the folks that weren't of great reputation in their ancestry because they wanted their lineage to be pure. Because, you know, in every family, you want to hide somebody in your family. Somebody say amen to that. You know, not everybody needs to know about Uncle Nacho. And that's why it's so powerful to see Matthew, the writer of the first gospel, who happened to be writing to Jews, right? And so he gives Jesus, is one of them that gives Jesus Jesus' genealogy. I mean, you would think that he would be sensitive to the Jews' preference to being pure with their lineage. And seeing as he is trying to portray in his gospel that Jesus was the Messiah, that it might have been important to leave out certain characters in Jesus' lineage. But if you read his lineage, you'll find that Matthew did not hide anybody. As a matter of fact, you read it, you'll see there are cheaters, liars, murderers, prostitutes, Gentiles, and sinners. Like straight up sinners in this genealogy. Like if we were to put all of Jesus' genealogy in a time machine, and they were all to convene in one age, like at one spot, and have a family reunion from all those hundreds of years, and we were to put them in one big mansion and have a family reunion, I'll tell you what you will have. You'd have the FBI outside with the ghetto bird up on top, and you'd have somebody on a megaphone going, "Bad boys, bad boys." Y'all are not ready for this type of preaching right now. But this is exactly what would be happening. You know why? Because they were bad people. Let me explain to you when I say bad people. There was a girl in his genealogy called Tamar. Now Tamar, first of all, Tamar was from Canaan, which was a cursed nation. That's Tamar. Well, Tamar was Judas's daughter-in-law who married his first son. His first son was called and he erred when he married her because he died. Your boy was gone. And then, since he died, she said, "You know what? You didn't give me a child." And women in that day needed to bear a male. You know, they had to have a male because they couldn't inherit anything if they didn't have that male was the one that was going to support her when she got older. If not, she was going to be left to die. That's why widows were taken care of by the people, because widows that did not have male children were just left out to die. They didn't have money. They didn't have an inheritance. They had nothing. And so she went. So the laws, Israel's laws stated, listen, if that first dude didn't give you anything, then you go to the next of kin, like you go to the next of family, and you go and be his wife, and you say, "Hey, redeem me, and I need to have a child with you so that I can have an inheritance." So that I can live on. So that's what happened. And she went over and she married a guy named Onan, right? Well, here's the problem. Onan was Er's brother. She married Onan, Judah's second son, but he also died. Gone. So she was like, all right, it didn't work the first time. It didn't work the second time. So she was looking at this one kid. His name was Shelah. And that was Judas's third son. Now, you would almost imagine that this dude, Shelah, he was pretty young by the time Tamar was looking over at him. And you could almost imagine when she went over to Judah and said, "Hey, Pops, I know your first son died, and I know your second son died, But how about this little boy right here? And I could almost see Judah. He was like, girl, first of all, you're a cougar. That boy is way too young. Let him watch him another 2 years of Baby Shark before you're over here trying to slide into his DMs. Second of all, not today, devil. You are cursed. You killed my first son. You killed my second son. There is no way I'm going to let you marry my third boy. There's absolutely no way. You're not a cougar. You are a saber-toothed tiger. So you know what she did? As vengeance, she stood by the side of the road one day dressed as a prostitute, and she seduced Pops, the father-in-law. She seduced him to sleep with her so that she could have a son and a lineage. That she dressed as, y'all, this stuff right here, I'm telling you, the Bible sometimes is rated R. But that's what happened. That's what happened. And you know, the Lord could have picked anybody. And the Lord said, oh, Tamar, you dressed as a prostitute, girl? Come on down. You can be in my lineage. And here she goes. And then, speaking of prostitutes, there's another one in God's lineage. You know what her name was? Rahab. Rahab. How many of you know who Rahab is? I don't need any men to be, raising your hand. Amen. Rahab, right? She was a harlot, a lady of the night, a woman of ill repute. That was Rahab. And yet, Rahab was of Jericho. So you have Tamar of Canaan, Rahab of Jericho. You have all these Gentiles. And the Lord said, yeah, come on down. Put her in my lineage. And then you have Ruth. Ruth was of Moab. Tamar of Canaan. You've got Rahab of Jericho. You have Ruth of Moab. And she was also put in there. And then I don't have time to go into all of them, but there was another one, and her name was Bathsheba. Bathsheba. Now, Bathsheba was the wife of Uriah the Hittite, and she was Solomon's mother. But here's the problem. She was the wife of Uriah, but Solomon was not Uriah's son. Y'all, this stuff right here is better than days of our lives. I'm going to tell you, you got to get into the word if you want to be entertained, because this kind of stuff will have you up all night like, she did what? That's exactly what's going on right here. And yet, the Lord could have chosen anybody to be in his lineage. He chose Bathsheba. He chose Solomon. He could have chosen Absalom. He could have chosen just about anybody else's, or any of the other David's kids. He chose Bathsheba, and he chose that was Uriah's wife. And David brought her in, an adulteress. And yet the Lord chose Bathsheba. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm so glad that God chose those women to be in his lineage. You know why? Because it tells me in 2020 that I don't have to be a star to be in God's show. Amen. That I don't have to be famous for God to use me. That I don't have to be perfect. That I don't have to be goody two-shoes for God to use me. But even with my imperfections, even with everything I've done throughout my life, even as a sinner, thanks be unto God who gives us the victory through his son Jesus Christ. I am glad about this because God chooses the weak things. Now I'm going to bring this to a close with this. Why do you think that God chooses these people? That God chooses these things, that God places the seed of promise and puts them in the womb of deadness. Why do you think that is? At first I would say you are a torturer. You choose me knowing that I can't do this. That's torture. But why do you think that God does this? Well, I'm going to go back to that chapter that I read to you before, 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians chapter 1, and I'm going to give you there what happens. In verse 26, starting in verse 26, this is what the Bible says. God chose the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to confound the things that are mighty. God chose the base things of the world and the things which are despised, and God chose even things that are not, to bring to naught those things that are. And here it goes. Here goes the answer. You want the answer to why God chooses weak things and base things, and why God chooses small things, and why God chooses people who are incapable of bringing forth his promise? Verse 29 tells you, watch this, that no flesh should glory in his presence. So that no flesh should glory in his presence. The reason that God chose you and made you incapable of bringing forth his desired promise, you know why? So you can never stand back here and say, oh, it was my intelligence, it was my wit, it was my power, it was my influence, it was my IQ, it's my education. He said, I'm going to choose you without education, without power, without influence. I'm going to choose the incapable things, because when it's all said and done, I want everybody to look back and say, oh, look what the Lord hath done. It wasn't her, it wasn't him, it could not be, but look what the Lord hath done. There's some of you right now in this house, you've been through the fire, you've messed up a dozen times, you don't know if God could ever use you, and yet God is saying you are exactly what I want to use. Why? Because I want to show somebody that I'm able to heal to the uttermost, that I'm able to use someone's life that is incapable of bringing the desired result. Because you have a treasure. God said, I'm going to put this treasure in an earthen vessel, in a jar of clay. Jars of clay, that's what we are. You don't go to a museum to look at the jars. You go to see the treasure, right? Who cares? You know, the guy doesn't say, well, I'm here to tell you about the treasure that is valued the most in all of the world. But hey, I want you to take a picture of this jar of clay that it comes in. It's not what you go to the museum to see. You could care less what it was found in. All you care about is the treasure. And God said, that's exactly why I'm using you, your body, your low skills. I'm using you for a reason. I'm using you right now because I want my treasure to shine so much more than anything you could have ever given. The reason I chose you is not because you are a Fortune 500 CEO and you know how to grow this church. I'm gonna use you to pastor. You know why? Because you're exactly the type of man that's gonna be sitting there going, I've tried everything and this thing is not working. And I have no idea what to do. And we just don't have enough money. And I've been to every conference and I still don't get it. And these people are falling asleep while I speak. And I don't understand why. And God said, ooh, I'm excited when you tell me you can't, because they don't call me the God of impossible. They call me the God of the impossible. I'm waiting for somebody to say, I can't do this. I'm not enough. I don't have enough. I don't know enough. I can't go. That's when God steps in. That's when God says, you do what you can. I'll do what you can't. I'll do the impossible. I'll do what everybody else thinks you can't do. I'll do that. And I'll do it because I'm going to get glory out of your situation. I'm going to get glory out of your life. I'm going to get glory out of your ministry. I'm going to get glory out of those things. Lift your hands right now. Lift your hands over this building. Lift your hands. Lift your hands. Father, even in this church, even in this house, there's some young people right now who have failed and fallen. Who have messed up. And looking to you and saying, oh God, where and how? And I'm so weak, I've messed up. And yet, you're here to tell somebody, I want to use you. Not because of what you can offer. You can't offer me much. But I'm going to use you because you give me the highest probability of my glory shining through your life. You're just a vessel. I'm going to use your life as a vessel. As a vessel of glory. There's some people here that have messed up, have fallen at the altar of sexual sin, have fallen at the altar of promiscuity, have fallen at the altar, and they just don't know how in the world you can use them. And yet, I pray here today, oh God, that you will help us understand that you can use the smallest. As a matter of fact, that's who you choose. People who are incapable of reaching your desires. Not those who are mighty and strong and wise, but people who are incapable. That's who you choose. Not because of anything they've done, but because your glory will be manifest through their lives. Here tonight, I want to open this altar up, and I want every young person to come to this altar. I want you on this first night to find a place here where you can say, God, use my life. Use my life. I'm here tonight, I'm preaching to some young people in this house. You have fallen from grace, and you feel within yourself, how can I ever be used by God? And yet the word of the Lord has come to you and said, I am placing this seed of promise in this little womb of deadness of yours. I'm placing the seed of promise in this little womb of deadness. That you will do. Stand to your feet all these days. Before you come to this altar, I want you to pray. I want you to lift your voices before you come to this altar. I want you to lift your voices. And I want you to cry out unto the Lord and say, oh God, use my life. God, use my ministry. God, use the little that I have. Here it is. Here it is. I give it to you. And I want you to use it here today. Would you help me? Would you lift your voices right now all over this building? Let us go before the Lord. And then I'm going to ask you, as you will, I'm going to ask you to come. I want to pray with you. Even as you come to this altar, I want to pray that God begins to use you in a mighty way. There are some young people here that God is going to bless with stuff that you can't even imagine. He wants to revive your soul. He wants to revive your spirit. He wants to give you visions and dreams and give you ministries that you don't even know about. Dios quiere darte visiones y quiere darte sueños y ministerios que tú ni te imaginas en esta noche. Pero el Señor está diciendo, lo estoy haciendo para que ninguna carne se gloríe en mi presencia. Para que ninguna carne se gloríe en mi presencia. Yo soy el Dios que usa lo incapaz, soy el Dios que usa lo pequeño, soy el Dios que usa lo insensato, Gloria a Dios que te puede usar a ti, pero es para que tu gloria sea manifestada en esta vida. Gloria a Dios. That's why God has chosen you. Would you help me to come to this altar all over this building? I'd like to pray with you here today. And when you come, I want you to come with an open heart. I want you to come with an open mind. And I want you to come before the Lord and say, use me, Jesus. Come on down. Come on down. Don't be afraid.